Welcome to Rucks Balls and Oval Balls. We're back with yet another episode of Rugby Nonsense. And yes, as always, hosted by your favourite rugby podcast hosts. It's me, Dave, joined as ever by Rory. Rory, say hello to the listener.
Hello listeners. Welcome back. Hello, David. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Rory. How are you, more importantly?
I'm well. I'm very well. I'm still very, very cheerful after that weekend.
Oh,
lots of things to keep an English rugby fan happy.
Wasn't it a morale-boosting weekend of ruggers?
Honestly, I am full of vim.
Full
of
vim.
Record.
Wow, we've got full vim, people. Brace yourselves. How did you absorb your rugby this weekend? Was it with suitable hydration or just
large amounts of hydration? Yeah.
It's becoming a habit.
Yeah, saw a few old mates from various walks of life and watched the game in one of the best boozers in London, Turner's Old Star in Wapping.
Ooh, very nice, Rory. That sounds like a good day out. I had a considerably more understated experience where I was curled up on my sofa with a blanket and a dog for about 4 games of rugby back to back to back, and I had a lovely old time.
Excellent. Oh, you weren't ill. You were just...
I went ill. It was out of choice because I'm getting old, Rory, and it's getting cold, Rory. And
yeah.
Sometimes it's just nice to curl up in front of my projector cinema screen. Again, really helping my down-to-earth
How
image.
the other half live, listeners? He gets his dog food and his pasta to the door, and he has a cinema in the house.
There's a high chance of the dog food being delivered during this again, so that's something to look forward to.
How much food does this dog go through?
If I'm honest, Rory, there's been a bit of drama recently around this. Well, they said they delivered a box of food. It didn't arrive. Not the one that was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Have you questioned the other dogs in the neighbourhood?
So the delivery company that I shall not name said, "Oh, we've lost it. We can't find any track of it. Go back to your dog food supplier and let them know." So they've sent me another box, and then 2 days later, the original box arrived, and now because of the delay and all that, I've now got the third instalment in the last 2 weeks arriving. So I've got far too much dog food, is my overarching statement here.
You're going to have a very fat dog.
Well, thankfully, he's not perched himself up on this chair because he would be filling the screen behind me. And for those who are listening on a podcast format, I'm referring to the webcam picture. There's a chair behind my head. I appreciate that is no use to you listening to this on the podcast.
Just a bit of extra colour there for you listeners.
Hey,
David's got some decor.
Don't say that we don't cover anything other than rugby, because we cover not a lot else.
Dog food, chairs.
Dog food and chairs. And
it's a full lineup in this podcast.
My apparent emergence of not being a man of the people and losing touch.
Yeah.
No, it's just, I've always dreamed of having a projector since I was a child, so I'm an adult now, so I did it.
Sure. I mean, nice that you're living your dream, David.
I am living my dream.
Yeah.
That's enough non-rugby nonsense, isn't it, Rory?
Let's get into the meat and drink.
Let's get into it. So we'll start off with the news, and then we'll move on to the weekend fixtures that we have previously alluded to. And there's been a couple of things going on. Unfortunately, this week we don't have an early squad announcement to go off that I'm aware of. I have been busy today, so I haven't been keeping an eye on things. But we have had a new competition announced and a couple of awards that have been announced for it. Let's start with the new competition. What do you make of this newfangled Nations Championship that's going to be becoming probably a very important part of our rugby lives? Let's face it.
I think it's a really good idea to try something different. I would say you should treat this as the starting point of this as a series. I would like this to eventually be spun out to include more nations than the ones that are included now, although good to see the likes of Japan and Fiji being included to give it a little bit extra colour in terms of not just the usual old heads involved. But I think as innovations go, look, it's not entirely breaking the mould, but I think offering something a little bit more tangible to these fixtures across the summer and autumn, which, for those of us who are, schooled in the game and have been, are sort of steeped in the traditions, the summer tours, special in their own right, And obviously, South Africa and New Zealand have got their regular tours now set up to, I was going to say shaft Argentina and Australia. I don't think they'd like to characterise it like that, but that will be what the end result is. So these old tours, these kind of series, for those of us steeped to the game, are meaningful, but actually outside of us, they're not. To a layman who's not really involved in the game, England touring Australia or South Africa or New Zealand isn't any more remarkable than any other rugby fixture. So
yeah. There's no specialty to it unless you really, really want to know about whether it's special.
Exactly. So I think from that point of view, I think it's a good innovation to add a little bit more of a tangible importance to these fixtures that you can market. Mm-hmm. I say I'm hoping we can see this as the start point rather than the end point. I don't want it. You don't want the game to just go here and just stand still. You know how getting the old wheels to creak in rugby to bring any innovations is tough, but now something's happened. I hope they keep building on it. So the likes of Georgia, Spain, Portugal, Thomas.
You don't want it to be a closed shop.
No. I think this should be something that gets spun out more and more. We know what the difficulties are with introducing new teams to obviously the Six Nations in particular, but also the Rugby Championship to an extent as well.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any blockages to adding another layer to this championship and involving more promotion and relegation from it, so you can give other teams the opportunity to become involved. There's no reason why someone like Georgia or Portugal or Spain or whoever it is can't aspire to reach the Nations Championship and compete in that. And I think that opens the doorway to more tier 3, tier 4 nations getting access to the top table. So I say I don't mind it as a start point. I don't want it to be the be all and end all.
Yeah. I'm quite excited by the prospect of England doing an away trip to Fiji. I really, really hope that fixture's held in Fiji. I think that would be a nice touch. I'd be surprised if it does.
The Fiji games are going to be held in neutral locations, broadly speaking.
I hadn't spotted that.
They have said that. So I think we are playing Fiji in South Africa.
Right. Okay.
After the game versus South Africa.
Yeah.
And look, obviously it'd be great to take a game to Fiji for the local population.
Way to deflate my balloon, Rory.
Sorry to be the bearer of fact. But there is a genuine practical reason behind it, right? It's from Fiji's point of view, it's hard to maximise that commercially. Mm. So actually, the Fijian Union will almost certainly end up with bigger chunk of change off the back of a game at, say, Loftus Stadium than it will for a game in Suva. As lovely as it would to see the game, that would be to see the game there. And I do hope that one day we can get to a point where you can do that. Ultimately, at the moment, it's not necessarily practical. If you've seen where the Drua play, which would be probably the biggest stadium.
Was it Scotland that went and played there in the summer?
Yeah. And look, I would love to go and watch rugby there. I would absolutely. It's unbelievable, listeners. I mean, it's just a constant stream of middle-class packages as we try and record this every week. There's nothing I can do about it. Honestly, who we getting his tweed delivered next? Maybe some bottles of port.
It's now in a blue box. How exciting!
That is exciting.
I've also positioned it so there's no free promo for the company behind me.
No. Well, I've got no interest in your dog food other than the fact that it keeps disrupting our records.
As you were saying, Rory.
As I was saying. So look, I would love to go and watch a game over there, but the reality is there is an opportunity to maximise revenue for everyone out of these, and it's just not a practical way to do it.
Yeah, it is also logistically not the simplest, I imagine. But
it's there is one major airport in Fiji and Suva. There's not heaps of flights. It's not an easy trip for a Northern Hemisphere team to get to Fiji. So if you want fans in and out, look, obviously boost tourism, but it's not easy and it's not necessarily affordable. So it's maybe not the best way to do it. But maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
I think this hopefully opens the door in the not too distant future for opening the game up a bit more at the top table.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's lovely for there to be another reaction to something I've said in a podcast where last week I was literally saying how I don't see the point in this Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere narrative. And World Rugby are doubling down and saying that's the competition we want to see every 2 years. So I need to get behind
responded.
it. They've
responded. They said, look, you don't see anything in it? Well, we're going to put something behind it.
So you're welcome, world. You're welcome, world. There's now purpose to our summer and autumn internationals.
DMJ just changing the world, one podcast at a time.
One podcast at a time. And we're going to get a nice... I'm very much looking forward to this finals weekend that is being forward, where you get 3 days of double fixtures every day. First one being held at Twickenham, where you get the 12th versus 11th. Like, I love a weekend where I can binge watch rugby back to back to back to back to back to back. There's nothing better.
Of course. And they've made some very progressive steps. They're going to take the game from Twickenham, probably take it to the USA. They've mooted Qatar as well. I have no doubt Riyadh will be on the cards.
Yeah.
And then from there, I imagine, Beijing, Tehran, Pyongyang, anywhere World Rugby can make a few quid.
Yeah. It's always nice to have a cynical view sometimes, Rory, isn't it? Although probably not too far from the truth.
Yeah, broadly speaking, I think there's real high potential with this. If World Rugby have foresight to do it, that's obviously a big question. Let's not suggest that that's necessarily guaranteed, but I think there is an opportunity long term to do something with this. But right now, I'm all right. I'm all right with it as a first step.
We're all right with it, World Rugby. You're welcome for the idea, and we'll see what comes next. Obviously, as we said often before, a lot of it's always in the execution. And it's a lovely idea. At least this one feels a bit more fleshed out and thought through than, say, R360, which I don't want to mention again because they seem to be more of a rugby league focused competition these days anyway.
They're causing some waves in the
other code,
in the old Anzacs, but seemingly less so this end of the poll. So
yeah, and I'm okay with that. In other news, Rory, the awards. It's awards season in World Rugby.
It is.
And some nominations have gone out and it's caused a little bit of a stir, you could say.
Well, finally, little known, often forgotten about, rarely mentioned, Northampton Saints obscure back rower Henry Pollock is finally being recognised.
He's had such a quiet season.
Honestly, I don't know what he's got to do to get some bloody recognition in this game.
They must have some real rugby noses at World Rugby to have uncovered him to be nominated, because he's not done much to put his hand up for that at all.
Well, I think what we have to really thank is concerted grassroots effort across the globe to build that from the base up, and in no way has this been sponsored by any kind of media campaigns or anything to ensure that Henry Pollock gets his recognition in the award season. Yes, nominated for World Rugby's Breakthrough Player of the Year. All jokes aside, I think pretty well deserved.
100%.
Going up against Fabian Holland, the Dutch-born lock playing for New Zealand. Ethan Hooker, South African wing, who, for those who haven't watched him play, is a phenom. Sadly, I think injured for this tour, but
he has been playing.
He has played a bits and pieces. He
played at centre against Italy.
That's right, he does. He looks like an absolute superstar. And Suali, the Australian centre who made a big splash, particularly against the Lions
last year. Bit late this one. He had his breakthrough last year. Come on, he's taking his time.
Possibly a little bit unfair, but sure. But I think it's nonetheless a good nominee. So finally Henry Pollock getting his recognition, and then for the World Rugby Player of the Year, to the chagrin of South African fans, they've only got 3 of the 4 spots.
Oh, I bet they're fuming.
They are not happy that Sasha Feinberg Umguduzulu is not in there, but Louis Biore has been included, Six Nations Player of the Tournament, but also included Peter Steph Tutoy, Malcolm Marks, and, for prop fans everywhere, Oxen Shea.
Come on, Ox!
Yeah, I'm backing Ox for this one. Probably actually not the year he should have been nominated. The 2 previous years, he's been
pretty
much more dominant.
We may have discussed how we felt he should have been in the running last year.
Yeah.
you know, as discussed with
Better late than
Sully,
never.
they're running a year too late, obviously.
Look, World Rugby run things in arrears. No, I hope Ox wins it because a prop has never won World Player of the Year, and he is phenomenal. So I'd be very happy to see him win. But they'd all be deserving winners, of course. Everyone gets a medal at School Sports Day.
Well, absolutely, and well deserved. Has there been much outpouring on the social medias for any of this, Rory, that you've seen?
I mean, there's been the usual comment around the inclusion of an English player in that, particularly with it being Pollock. But he's obviously not won any trophies, and what's he really achieved? Was only on the bench for the Lions or whatever. But I mean, to be honest, I don't care. I think firstly, it's quite funny that they nominated him. I think they did that just to annoy South African fans.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyone who doesn't think he deserves to be in there after the year he's had is mad.
If anyone's arguing that he hasn't had a breakthrough year, that's been unseen in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe at least for some time, you're off your rocker, mate. Because
you've not turned your radio on once.
No, exactly. So yeah, I'm all for it, and
yeah,
I'm loving what I'm seeing in social media at the moment. I don't know if you've seen the lovely dance that's been going on around the English players and having their little jig in the bedroom.
Yeah, I shared that today. Yes, I shared that today. The comment I had for it was when you realise the game has finally passed you by.
I watched it and I could feel the prawn sandwich brigade just getting furious, and I loved it. We said all through the summer how nice it would be for the men's team to follow suit with the Red Roses and show a bit of personality, and
absolutely.
They've done that with a lovely little jig.
They have, and you know what? We have called for it, and they have delivered. And then I've seen it, and I've gone, I don't know what this is.
I think what you're seeing there, Rory, is it's passed you by. This is the TikTok generation, Rory. We just have to applaud because it's certainly been engaging. It's
of the two of us, you're the TikToker, and you get dog food delivered to your door. So
I've seen so many videos of other people copying it and mimicking it. You're doing
is it
something
a unique, or is it a trend? I don't know. I mean, I'm really betraying how out of it I am.
I haven't seen it anywhere before. There's every chance it's a trend, and they've just picked up on it. But I'm seeing it everywhere now, and I'll encourage anyone to watch it. Just watch how enthusiastic Finn Smith is with his clapping. Oh, he's so happy. He's so method. He's bought into that role, and it gave me joy to see how much he was enjoying that little jig.
Do you know what it did for me, though, David? Watching England rugby as a fan, I think it was the first moment that really crystallised for me that international rugby stars are so much younger than I am now.
Oh, that's what crystallised it for you.
That was the moment I really hit home for me that I'm 10 years older than at least all of the boys in those videos, and I just thought, right, I don't know what they're doing, and I'm never going to now. That's it. I'm out of it. So, but I'm choosing to approach this as a more positive kind of old man who
with
just
an open mind
applauds the boys and says, look, lads, if that's what you guys do, you go and enjoy it. As long as you keep winning on the pitch, I don't care.
Absolutely. And anything that riles up the opposing fan bases, I'm all for, because I've enjoyed reading below the lines in those videos.
Well, there was some good comments on there.
There's some interesting comments that go on there. People,
yeah.
Obviously, you throw Henry Pollock into anything and you get any opposing fan really agitated. And then you get Henry Pollock dancing with an Alice band in his hair to, I don't know how to describe the song.
I don't know what it is.
And doing the can, they're really going to come out of the woodwork. So yeah, please carry it on. I very much enjoyed it.
I think carry it on, lads. I've seen the one video now, and I'm just going to assume you're going to keep doing them. And David will keep me abreast of these things when they come out.
I will. I hope there's more. My only issue with it's 3 Saints players and a Leicester Tiger and Freddie Stewart. What's going on there?
Well, I'd forgotten how young Freddie Stewart is, to be honest.
It definitely felt like you weren't going to see George Ford part of that.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
I mean, George.
Yeah, I also wonder, do you reckon it
Yeah.
may have been a fine?
I mean, if it is, it's very different to any fine I've ever received from rugby teams.
Well, so on the Lions tour, Henry Pollock was clearly given a fine to go and do a TikTok live, and he had to do a TikTok live for half an hour or something like that. I tuned into it, and it was quite obviously a fine. So the social media is moving into the rugby world's fines, and I'm just wondering whether this was one of them. But they look like they're having so much fun.
Media, right?
They look like they're having so much fun. I doubt it was a fine. But yeah, let's move on from that. Because that wasn't the only thing those England boys achieved this weekend.
It certainly wasn't, David.
One hell of a game that we're going to talk about. England versus New Zealand. A lot of build up to this. A lot of anticipation. Not beating New Zealand in 6 or so years. Hadn't beaten them at Twickenham since 2012 or something along those lines.
Third win in 21 years or something.
And obviously, we've been talking about the All Blacks who have been on the up, improving, changing styles. And, well, Rory, take it away from here. What did you take from that game?
Well, it feels trite to say, but it was Borthwick's most impressive performance out of this team. I mean, that's obvious. I've been really enjoying the Kiwi reaction. It's been great to catch up on Kiwi commentators on this one. I think for a lot of the reactions, but New Zealand were on top for the first 20 minutes. I mean, they came out 12-0
against the run of play. I felt personally.
Well, this is the thing. I think New Zealand had a good 10 to 15 minutes really in that game. First 10 minutes was all England when Underhill drops the offload that would have put Mitchell in, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Something like that. Ford puts over a not great crossfield that misses the mark. New Zealand have a real purple patch for 10 minutes. But the first 10 minutes was all England. They were lucky to be 0-0 at that point. And then obviously Fainga'anuku and Cody Taylor score. I mean, 2 good tries, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And obviously the second one in particular comes off the back of a pretty glaring error from George Ford where he kicks it out in the full, and then a brilliant 50-22 from Cam Roigard, who
very clever.
I'm just going to say right now, I mean, I hope he was injured when he came off, just for the sake of Scott Robertson, because if he brought him off tactically, that is disastrous.
Yeah, that's not a good look for your coaching reservoir.
He was phenomenal, Cam Roigard. But from there, I mean, Alex Coles gets held up over the line. It's a quite unfair criticism. I think the criticism actually should be, if you're going to criticise anyone in that passage of play, I'm actually going to criticise Alex Mitchell, because that ball should have gone behind Coles and then been spun wide.
Yeah.
I think sending Coles into traffic at that point, you can make arguments around body angles, but I think you could probably also make an argument that New Zealand are offside.
Yeah. Coles, the second that ball went to Coles, he was always going to go for the line because he's not a distributor. He wasn't going to then shift.
Well, and he's going full pelt. He's going full pelt. He's right at the line. This is what you're going to do.
And there was three New Zealand defenders there. Yeah, maybe offside.
Mitchell should have spun it behind him, but that's by the by. Obviously, England get a scrum and then spin it left, and Lawrence just skittles Leroy Carter, who just, I mean, I haven't seen much of him before this tour, and he had some good moments in this game with the ball in hand. You can see where the talent is.
That kick and collect. He did.
The kick and collect, where Marcus Smith does really well to get back and stop him at source, and Lawrence makes a really good turnover on him.
Made Roebuck look a little slower than I thought he was, but that might be how quick Leroy Carter is. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's off the 7 circuit, and that's all about acceleration off the mark, isn't it? So, Roebuck's a different kind of winger. But I think he's been found quite wanting physically there.
For sure.
I think more than once on this tour, really. But take nothing away from Ronnie Lawrence, hell of a finish, serious power, skilling him and then Bodie Barrett to get over the line. And then from there, England just never looked back. I mean, I want to take all the flowers from the listeners for my backing of George Ford this year. Who just once again phenomenal. The kick out on the Fuller side and the crossfielder side, which, all right, those are errors in the first sort of 15-20 minutes. Outside of that, flawless.
Yeah. Drop goals.
13 out of 13 tackles, didn't miss a single one. But the 2 drop goals, that he made to keep the scoreboard ticking over. It takes real clarity of thought to do that, to know that you've got the chance to then get back up the pitch and knock another one over. The skill of executing it, it's so far beyond anything I can execute on a pitch. It's ridiculous. But it's the ability to do that in that kind of situation when you've gone 12-0 down against the All Blacks is outrageous, and just proving once again the absolute value of what George Ford brings to this squad. I think after that performance, the shirt's his in all the big games at the moment. I don't think anyone can really question that now, barring something really, really outrageous happening with Finn or Marcus Smith, or obviously injury. But for me, he's proved exactly why Borthwick trusts him in that shirt.
Yeah.
Marcus Smith coming on for Freddie Stewart, who obviously goes off with an HIA after the gum shield lights up on 22 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Actually changing the game when he came on. Not that Freddie Stewart was having a bad performance, I don't think. There's been some comment about his performance up to that point, but I actually thought he was fine.
No bad comments. He had one take in the air that he didn't take, but that's fine.
It was collected by Ben Earl, and that's why they practiced that. And obviously he shanked one kick. But I'm not going to dig him out for that because I can't kick for toffee. But Marcus Smith comes on and immediately injects real pace in the backfield, getting on the end of offloads and setting Benifacio Boso away. I thought, Marcus Smith probably his best performance from fullback.
Oh, in the 15 shirt for sure. That was definitely his best.
Proving that he can bring that kind of Damien McKenzie type of impact to a game, which was what the challenge was, up against McKenzie being on the bench. And the reality is Marcus Smith, absolutely delivered this week and proved he can do that. Whether, I still don't think he's going to be the long-term solution there when more specialist fullbacks like Furbank are fit and available, but proving he is more than adept to fill in there. There's so many players to compliment on this. Fraser Dingwall.
Thank you. That was the name I was going to mention. For me, he was my man of the match, for me personally.
George Ford for me, but, splitting heads that they were all brilliant. I thought in defence, excellent. Obviously, really well taken try, linked play, really well. You did everything you want from Fraser Dingwall as that glue player. And, he basically fulfilled the mould of what you want in that. And then to come up with a try on top of it, excellent. I think there's a lot of chat now around, have England found their centre partnership? I think probably at this point you have to say they have.
Certainly for the Six Nations first fixture, that's what
you'd be mad to change it. At this
injuries
point.
Permitting,
yeah, you'd be mad to change it. I thought Feo Boso was really dangerous. You could see a really concerted effort to get the ball in his hands. I think Tom Roebuck was really good in the air again. Probably a bit suspect. A couple
of times in defence, I think he was a bit found out.
I think, in terms of splitting hairs of where there are things to improve, I think Roebuck's going to have some challenges on his defence, as Alex Mitchell.
I wasn't sure whether it was a tactical call or whether it was personnel, because there was a clear tactical call to kind of have that blitz from the edge from the winger that I think New Zealand figured out pretty much instantly, and that's why he was caught out, I think.
Yeah, New Zealand are... probably still one of, if not the best team at getting the ball wide to space when they're on, and they identify it quick. And that's they exploit. And so I think Roebuck got exposed there, and I think Mitchell, as an edge defender as well, got exposed there a few times. In some ways, it's not such a problem with Mitchell. I think a lot of his role there is to pressure the opposition player rather than necessarily make the big hit. But you'd want him to make at least one of those hits, and he didn't really make any. So probably a question mark there, but. Again, splitted hairs, because ultimately I think Mitchell had a pretty good game with the boot, kept the tempo going really well, obviously linked really well with George Ford. So again, he's splitting hairs. So from a back's perspective, overall 5 out of 10 performance, very little to complain about with it. And ultimately for both centres to get a try and one of the wingers, you just got to be happy with that, haven't you?
And how about that pack, Rory? That pack.
Well, this is it. Finn Baxter and Joe Hayes have absolutely announced themselves to the world as, if not world class adjacent props.
Yeah, they held their own.
well, more than held their own. You know, they were still getting penalties and turnovers at the scrum when Tomato Williams came on, and that was always going to be a question. You know, who had the better front row options on the bench, because Tomato Williams, Takeaho, and Tozy are a big unit. Tomato Williams came on at half time for De Groot, and Joe Hayes had him on toast. You know, really, really out muscled him, which is no mean feat. You know, that is a hard thing to do. And you know, you watch any other game New Zealand played this year, no one's really managed that. Finn Baxter, you know, very good against Cam Newell, but also just around the pitch, loads of tackles. Got his hand on the ball a fair bit. I thought Joe Hayes in defence was really good. You know, more than once saw him leading the blitz out the line and going after the ball carrier. You know, really impressive from a tight head at any level, frankly. Jamie George.
Do we talk about the line out?
We'll have to address the line out. I'm inclined to give hookers leeway when it comes to lineouts failing, because it's lots of different moving parts, and I don't necessarily think it was a case of Jamie George not hitting double top every time. New Zealand just read it, but ultimately you throw the ball and you don't hit your jumper. You're the one who's going to get highlighted for it. So definite question marks over the line out there, but that was for the first half an hour. After that, I don't think they lost another one.
Yeah, it definitely shored up after.
Yeah.
I think once England got their foot back in the game, I think the confidence came back. Maybe
whatever the problem was, they solved it.
Yeah.
I think so. You know, there was obviously an issue there that they'll have to review and address, but actually, you know, particularly when they go up against Argentina, who are great jumpers, but they did fix it after half an hour, and you want players to fix problems on the field. So Jamie George, Maritoje, Alex Coles, well done for figuring out what they needed to do. The fact that Jamie George led the response to the haka and came up with the idea of having him and Pollock at both ends, Pollock with his licking his lips.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I can't help but love Jamie George, and the rumours are that he took the RFU credit card and took the squad down to his pub after the game. So filling his own coffers, which I love to hear about.
Well done, Jamie George. Very smart move there.
Yeah.
What do you make of the slight outpouring of, mainly from New Zealand commentators again, about the response from the Twickenham crowd to the haka?
Look, I'm not particularly a lover of swing low. It's just not my bag. You know, it feels a bit too on brand for England fans to sing something like swing low. So it's not something I join in, but you know, it's a challenge. Obviously, it's a challenge between the teams, but you know, in a lot of ways, it's a challenge between nations, right? You're throwing down the gauntlet to England rugby as a whole. That includes the fans in the stadium. I don't think you should boo and jeer the haka. I think singing over it, I think I'm fine with it broadly. In as much as I'm fine with singing swing low in general. I mean, I don't do it, but if you want to, fine. You know, I think it's okay. Personally, I think if Welsh fans were to sing Calon Lan or Bread of Heaven or whatever over it, or you know, Irish fans sang Fields of Athenry, you know, is that going to be would that have been a problem, or is it just because it's England fans singing swing low? Being said, they're saying that we're the only ones who do it. I don't know if that's true because I haven't really kept track of it, but
no. Well, I've always had this feel like I love the haka. I love watching the haka. But you always question, like, is it an advantage to New Zealand that they're able to emotionally get themselves psyched up and aroused physically by being able to perform the haka while the other team is inclined or forced to not respond? Is that a disadvantage? I don't know. But for me, if the crowd wants to get involved in a response to the haka, which the haka itself is a call to arms, it is a challenge that's getting laid down. If the fans want to play a part in responding to that challenge, I don't see a problem with it personally.
Yeah, I mean, you're more eagle-eyed than me if you can spot physical arousal through the screen. But you know, well done for keeping your eyes peeled. I think
it's a biological, scientifically word, Rory.
Look, I just think if you get to do that, then there should be a challenge to it. And ultimately, we don't want the England rugby team Morris dancing. So what?
Hey, we've seen them
do
dance.
they respond to it?
We've seen them dance. We've seen the England team dance.
Yeah, I don't think I'm necessarily going to support that. I don't think so. I think that's a good challenge. You know, it made it feel like an occasion.
Yeah.
So
the atmosphere looked very, very good by Twickenham standards.
Yeah, I think, the stadium seemed like it was rocking. So from that, I'm all right with it.
So stop complaining is what we're saying.
Yeah,
basically. Those who are moaning about it.
Yeah.
How about the back row? Again, another, I think, performance from Ben Earl saying, okay, Tom Willis, he's gone, fine, whatever, I'm here.
He's absolutely stepped up to the plate. So I think it was 20 ball carries by the time he got his yellow card, something like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just the fact that he was getting his hands on the ball so much, which is obviously important. He was making so many meters post contact, just using his feet, using his power. Just didn't really seem to have an answer for him carrying the ball. I think there was a real question mark how England would go without someone as powerful as Willis. Any team would miss someone like that in their lineup. But Ben Earl, I think, has stood up so well, and he's obviously been given the keys to that shirt. He's been told prove your England's number 8, and over the last couple of games he started there, it just feels like he's absolutely showcasing why he's the man for that job. So no, I was so impressed by his performance. I mean, by the whole back row. I think Guy Pepper just so busy, just constantly involved in picking up second balls, hitting rucks, slowing down their ball, making tackles just everywhere. And Sam Underhill just proving the mantra: if Sam Underhill's fit, you pick Sam Underhill.
Yeah.
Power he exudes. I mean, not just for his try, which was a lovely finish through the tackle, but just in everything he does. Like he is the world's best tackler. That is just now settled. I think you can't deny him. I think, and if you've got the ball handlings anywhere near you, you just have cold sweat going down the back of your neck because he's just going to end you.
Have to run in fear. That's the only solution.
Your only option. The whole back row is brilliant, and I thought Tom Curry and Henry Pollock when they came on were great again. Just injected so much energy. Pollock in particular, really just exuding energy. But the harassment off the back of the scrum, obviously not necessarily legal in terms of breaking off the scrum early, but that's what flankers do.
Now, are New Zealand fans complaining about a flanker bending the rules and getting away with it?
Well, look, I'll be honest with you, Kiwis are complaining in general, but Kiwis are always complaining, so I'm not going to worry too much about it.
You'd never catch Richie McCaw bending a rule, would you?
Well, exactly. Harassing Cortez Rattimer to dribble that ball through for Roebuck to finish is just epitomises what he's about as a player. Just that buzzy, annoying, in your face, just exactly what you want from that type of player. And that's on top of making a 50-metre break as well. Getting a turnover penalty. He just impacts games. And then you've got Tom Curry there, who's just never does anything wrong. Taking line-out ball at the back of the line-out to set up what should have been a try for George Ford. On that, did the TMO want to find any excuse to disallow that try?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously checking it for the knock-on. It's not a knock-on, so he's rolled it back as far as he can to. Everyone breaks the 10-metre line from the line-out. Everyone does. I guarantee you watch any scrum or line-out on any attacking play, and 99 times out of 100, when the team is running the ball, they are offside.
It's the only time I've ever seen that pinged. I've never seen it called.
It doesn't get pinged because no one does, because your job is to break that line.
Yeah,
your job is to push that because you're trying to beat the defence to the gain line. So everyone does it. So look, by the letter of the law, it's a penalty, fine. But at what point are the TMOs going to stop
searching for reasons,
ruining the fun?
Yeah, TMOs are under a little bit of a spotlight at the moment, aren't they?
Well, they've been shite, David. That's why. They have been shite. And that's on top of, to be honest, I don't think Piardi was having a very good game as referee either, frankly. I thought he was very average.
I don't think he has many games where he does that particularly well. I'm surprised he's so highly thought of, if I'm being brutally honest.
Being brutal, he's not good enough. And it's not really like us to properly dig out a ref like that, but just not good enough. If I was a New Zealand fan, the Cody Taylor in bin, I mean, it was a cynical thing to do, but a yellow card there on the halfway line?
That part of the pitch?
First penalty of the game for New Zealand?
It felt like he wanted to give a card.
I mean, just bizarre decision.
Yeah.
You don't know, obviously England then go and score. Sam Underhill scores a couple of minutes after that. It is a penalty. Like, they would like to call it a penalty. But again, should the TMO be getting involved with that? I don't think so.
No.
Like, TMOs aren't there to review every ruck for every sort of minor
infringement. They do seem to be getting involved with a lot as well. And there's also, I thought that, didn't there used to be a rule, it may still exist, that you can only go back so many phases? Like, they seem to be going back like minutes sometimes to some instances.
They just need to butt out. World Rugby has got to change it because it's poor. We're going to talk about another red card for South Africa this week, but I honestly, I'm struggling to think of correct TMO decision at the moment, and I'm dangerously close to siding with Springbok fans that they're being persecuted.
Don't let them hear you say that, Rory.
I know. I just don't get what they're trying to do. They're not there police games. They're there to facilitate games. Do you know what I mean? That's your goal isn't to be the police. It's just to ensure the game runs smoothly. So fucking back down.
Butt out, all right?
Yeah.
Before we move on to some of the other games, from a New Zealand perspective, there's been some talk. Bowden Barrett didn't have a great game.
Dreadful game, worst game. But apparently went into the game with a quad strain, which is why he wasn't kicking for corners. So they picked him injured. You got Damien McKenzie on the bench.
Yeah, that seems like a
just daft,
odd decision to make. Last hurrah, maybe. There's talk maybe he'll be stepping down. Maybe it was his last game, but didn't want the furore about announcing it.
Then this is Test match rugby, Twickenham against England. It's not the time for sentiment. If he's not going to play, if he's retiring, but he's injured, you don't give him a start against England. You pick Damien McKenzie, surely.
Yeah, well, that's what logic says, Roy. But as we've discussed numerous times, logic doesn't always prevail in the world of rugby.
No, I think when Cody Taylor was off the pitch and they got that somewhat dubious penalty around the halfway mark, and they tapped and went and then kicked it into the air 2 phases later. I just remember sitting there. I was in the pub and I was a bit. I was fairly well cut by this point, but I was just sitting there thinking, I don't got any idea what they're doing. I would back myself to have a reasonable eye for rugby. Otherwise I wouldn't be arrogant enough to do it on a podcast. I couldn't see the game plan outside of strike moves. I couldn't see much of.
There was nothing. There was nothing structured.
I just thought. I genuinely thought watching it. I thought that they're actually quite average. There's obviously loads of talented players in there. Peter Larkai, Adi Surveyor, Fainganuku, Tapia, Proctor, Will Jordan, Leroy Carter. So I think you can really see the promise there. But so I didn't quite see much of.
I think what we saw there was the collection or the evidence that we've been saying the last couple of weeks, where it hasn't felt like New Zealand have been world beaters, even though they've been picking up wins. I think what we saw here was a game where it wasn't their best performance, and we're seeing what's wrong with that team at the moment. And it feels disjointed. It doesn't feel like they've got clear direction.
I don't feel like they know what they're trying to achieve. I mean, we spoke a couple of weeks ago that looking at the best players in that team. So you're talking about Fainganuku. Obviously, Caleb Clark was injured for this one. Tapia at 12. Peter Larkai, Adi Surveyor, Wallace Atiti, who I don't understand why they started him on the bench. But what you have there is a collection of world-class power runners. Whatever else you want to say about them, they are world-class power runners, and they're just not utilising that. They're spinning width to width when what they think they should be doing is sending those guys up the guts a bit to cause chaos instead of defences going backwards. Do
you reckon there's just a reluctance to revert to that style because New Zealand have been known for so long for being the great entertainers?
Well, this is some of the comments I've seen from Kiwi commentators since is they're questioning whether are they too arrogant to see that because they're not doing say like a 6-2. They're not trying to impose like a bomb squad, type thing. Are they too arrogant to suggest that they can learn things from what other nations are doing and to accept the right on the ball because they're not improving their high ball in the kicking game in the same way that other teams are, and they're losing out there consistently. They're not getting go forward up front the way that you'd expect a New Zealand team to do so because they're not really utilising those players the way that you would if you were just running a power game. It feels to me like it feels a little bit like Scott Robertson is either out of his depth or has run out of ideas, which is mad to say when you think how well rated he was as Crusaders coach and how excited. I mean, not just New Zealand, to be honest, everyone was when he got picked as the New Zealand because everyone thought he was going to turn them into something really, really special. Hasn't materialised.
No, but yeah, it is at a time where that playing squad is going through quite a bit of change. It's also in an era of very dominant Springboks, and what I'd like to call is the slow uprising of the Northern Hemisphere to be able to cope with the Southern Hemisphere's style of play. So he has come in at a time when it's tricky.
Yeah, okay, fine. But when have New Zealand ever been behind the curve before?
They've always dictated the curve.
All the curve. Yeah. Everyone follows. Up to now, everyone follows in New Zealand's wake for playing style. So to one extent or another.
Well, that's the problem now. South Africa,
but New Zealand, but they're not doing anything different. They're not innovating the same way they used to. They're not finding ways to play the game a bit differently, and they're not even doing the things that teams like South Africa and England are doing well to counter that.
I think it's going to be really interesting how international rugby develops because I genuinely think the bomb squad or the POM squad or basically loading your bench with your best players is going to become a bit more of a regular thing because we saw some of the other teams, so Argentina, for instance, kind of did that. And we're starting to see that if you can have your best players on the pitch for the final 20, you can win games even if you weren't the best team for the first 60. I think people are realising that maybe the Springboks were onto something here because I would be interested to see whether that trickles down to club rugby and whether we're going to see a kind of change in the way people see the use of their squads and how to utilise a bench in that way.
Well, the only way to really counter it, I guess, is to have a starting team as good as
or blow a team away so that you're so far out of sight that it doesn't matter who you bring on. But that's
these things. Yeah, these things will come in cycles, but at the moment, it does seem like it's going that way. But let's be fair, that England starting team were brilliant for the first 5 minutes until Genge, Stewart, Pollock, and Curry all came on.
They didn't come on and up the game. They just came on and maintained the level that the guys performed at, which is just credit to everyone involved.
Yeah, it's 100% a 23-man game at the moment. If you look at. So obviously Marcus Smith comes on after 22 minutes. Cunningham South only plays the last couple. Spencer only plays the last 6 or 7. Forwards outside of that, Cowan Dickey comes on 44 when George has been injured. Genge, Stewart, Pollock, Curry all come on 56. If we look at New Zealand, they change their loose head at half time, their scrum half 5 minutes after half time, their 10 on the 55-minute mark, their tight head a minute or so later.
There's no plan there, is there?
It doesn't seem like a clear tactic with your squad. That's just reactive to me. That just reads as pure reactive, and obviously some of it's injuries and some whatever else. But it doesn't strike me that New Zealand are looking at an 80-minute game and going, look, this is when we think we need to inject pace. And it's not like they couldn't have seen what England were going to do come in because they've been playing. England have been using this bomb squad consistently now in one form or another. So they should have known. And they must have done.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. But England coming away victors, great performance, as you say, one of Borthwick's best performances as a coach, really getting the best out of this team. And it does feel like England are moving in a positive direction still, which is really, really nice to be after a few years of not feeling that way. There's a feel-good factor around that squad. And Long may that continue. Before we move on to the other games, a little nod to the England A team. They got a last gasp win against a passionate and probably a bit of a surprise thing, an A team, very competent Spanish team.
Yeah, really got themselves out of jail with this one, with 2 tries in the last sort of 5 or 6 minutes. Spain, I think, went 22-7 up at one point, something like that. They really, really put England under pressure on this one. So I think what you're probably seeing there is the Spanish team are on the rise. The way they played from what I saw, the style of play very similar to how Portugal played at the World Cup, very similar to how Chile played at the World Cup.
Yeah,
seems to be a real trend amongst some of the emerging nations in terms of very fast, mobile offloading. Often
quick ruck speed.
Yeah, I think probably with an acknowledgement that they don't have the power athletes up front that a lot of the more established nations do, but a very, very entertaining brand of rugby. England, I think this team just is again still suffering from a lack of cohesion, but Kalori scored a very nice try. Fizzolau scored, Kepa Tupolotu scored, and then Ben Redshaw scored off a lovely crossfield from Charlie Atkinson to win the game on the 77th minute. Yeah, so nice to see a bit of connection there between the Gloucester lads. So hopefully that is a sign of things to come for us.
Yeah, hopefully they bring that to King's Hole.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But I think, obviously the Spanish will be very disappointed to let it go, having been in the lead for the vast majority of the game. But certainly some good signs for them that they're able to compete with the England A's.
It wasn't the full Spanish squad either.
No.
They had a number of their best players not there. So it does bode well for Spanish rugby as well, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, good signs for them. Hopefully they can carry that on. Hopefully the likes of Portugal, because they've had some difficult results this year, absolutely tonked by Ireland earlier this year. I think that resulted in some real questions being made of their leadership. But I think with a bit of the emergence of rugby in those nations, good results for Czech Republic had a good result. I think really growing rugby in Czech Republic at the moment. Belgium are currently playing Samoa to get the final.
Yeah, there's a chance they might be World Cup bound. Against the odds, but there's a chance.
Yeah. In fact, it's drawn 13-0. I don't know what the implications of that are, actually. They finished 13-0 between Samoa and Belgium. For those of us who grew up watching Samoa, that is an interesting. Actually, it means Samoa go through, which is fortunate for Belgium, but probably good for in general. Love to see Samoa there, but the Belgium getting a draw against Samoa is massive.
Bit of a fall from grace, that.
So, but yeah, some really interesting emerging nations coming through. Brazil looking like they're on the up as well. Obviously, Chile, Uruguay, and Peru in South America as well are on their way up. Uruguay performed pretty well against the All Blacks 15 by all accounts. So yeah, look, I think there's some really interesting stuff happening in the emerging nations, which is why I'm hoping that this Nations Championship is going to open some doors.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do like a shadow competition in the background, where maybe we can have some of the A teams playing some of these emerging nations or something like that.
Well, yeah, I think that's one way to go about it.
Or just get them playing each other, promotion and relegation.
Well, I think I think you can take a slight model from the Nations League in football they're doing in Europe, where they've got the way it's worked out is tiers of nations. So it goes from A through to E or E, which means in the lowest pot you've got the likes of Gibraltar playing Luxembourg, which is great for teams like that because rather than just watching their team lose 13-0 every week, they've actually got games they could win, which in international football is difficult. But you promote and you go up and down between those pools. So it's promotion relegation. I think that's an option long term. I don't know how feasible it is right now, but that's something I would be hoping they'd be looking into it. I mean, to give you an idea, Brazil today 40-31.
Okay.
So that shows that Brazil aren't far off from that level either. So it feels like there's a bit of a shift change in some of these nations. You've got to take advantage of it. I would hope the Nations Championship will help do that.
Fingers crossed. Now, should we move into some of the other home nations games, Rory?
Well, should we talk about Wales finally getting their first win in?
Did you watch the game, Rory?
I did. I was quite pissed by this point. I did watch the game.
I felt Japan were excellent.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really were. And I think they're rightly aggrieved to not have won that game. I would go so far as to say they should have been comfortable winners in this one. You can see that they are missing that solidity up front that the strongest Japanese teams, 2015, 2019 in particular, had compete with the more traditional packs. I think they're still missing that, and to be honest, they need to find a more scalable way to produce top level forwards, particularly in the back five. I know it's not easy to find 6'5" plus forwards in Japan to play rugby. Like there's no disrespect. That's just the reality of the way these things go. But they need to find a more scalable way to do it because the current way I don't think is not a long-term solution. But the speed and accuracy of some of their attacks is great. I mean, they've got likes of Ishida on the wings who are really, really exciting. I think Saito at 9 is great. I think he plays down at Toulouse, Saito. I thought the fly half was pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He had to go off, didn't he, with a HIA towards the end.
But up to then I thought he was good. I think they produce really good props. Their front rows are really exciting, really mobile. And yet Wales frankly got away with it.
Thankfully Jared Evans isn't afraid of a big moment.
No, which is just as well, because if they'd lost that, I think the arse probably falls out of things. It's not positive though as a win. It's as unpositive a win as it gets, really, in some ways, because this was an opportunity for Wales to lay down a marker as to why their ability doesn't match their world ranking at the moment, and really all they did was confirm it, because it's 12th and 3rd, and they look at.
Yeah, all it done was it confirmed they're at the level they're at, and that is their level.
They are 12th in the world, and they're just marginally better than 13th.
And I would argue that marginality is very small.
And possibly not even that.
Don't think they deserved the win at all.
No, I don't think they did. Obviously, Japan have, I think, some discipline issues.
Yes.
But then Josh Adams gets himself red carded as well, so that's not unique to Japan.
Yeah. Well, as we discussed, it's not been unique to any team this autumn, seeing certain coloured cards. I was very impressed from a Japan perspective with Dylan Riley. And I know you're probably alluding to the fact that their current process of filling their team is to kind of fill themselves up.
I don't begrudge them picking up players that weren't born in Japan. Every country, including England. That's my issue. Isn't that someone called Dylan Riley is in the Japan team by any stretch? I don't think that's probably. And Dylan Riley's really, really good player. Actually, I think we're getting a lot of teams higher ranked than Japan. I think he's a genuinely very good player. They should definitely pick. My issue is. My thing with it is, in terms of the scalability of a sport in a nation, long term, we've seen this. You've seen it in Scotland, you've seen it in Ireland. You've seen it in a lot. The USA is another good example where this is a problem. Without a genuine conveyor belt of players across the board in all positions coming through, you're never going to be able to create sustainable success.
Because you're one injury away from being ramshackling.
Just listen to some of the talk about Scotland at the moment and where they're going to come to after this quote unquote golden generation comes to an end.
I will say this golden generation theory has come purely out of Scotland fans.
Yes, quite. They've won a lot of Calcutta Cups, fair enough.
Yeah, well done.
What I really want is for Japan to have a genuine grassroots game that brings through. They're obviously very reliant on the universities, and the Japanese leagues are all very reliant on corporate investment. What you really want is for there to be a genuine throughput of Japanese players playing top level rugby all over the world, but obviously strengthening the Japanese leagues and filling in the side. Because if your reliance is on naturalizing players to fill problem positions all the time.
Yeah.
You just long term, it's just a problem.
Yeah.
That being said, Dylan Riley, fantastic. Genuinely, I think Eddie Jones named him as the best outside centre he's coached or something. Which
he's coached
might
a
just
few
be
good ones.
Yeah, I mean that could always just be an Eddie Jones.
There is always a risk of that. Yeah.
Eddie Jonesism, if there is such a thing, but he is genuinely brilliant. I think from Japan's perspective, they could be genuinely disappointed with not having won this game.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rest of their tour looks like, actually, off the top of my head. I think that might be the tour over, in fact. Eddie Jones has got some problems to solve if they want to get out the group stages at the next World Cup. I don't think this is the team of 2019 by any stretch, and I'm not sure it's going to be. But that being said, maybe Eddie will pull something out of the black bag with them, because they can pull off a result, I think.
Yeah.
On given the right day, but
hey, they could be drawn in a group with Wales.
Well,
get their payback.
Quite. Yeah. But in fact, they play Georgia this weekend in Georgia.
That'll be a good game.
That should be a good game. But from a Welsh perspective, wipe the sweat off your brow. You got away with one, but
lucky.
Very, very fortunate.
Yeah, and there wasn't really any players, from my perspective, who really came out with more credit in the bank they went in with.
Well, this is the thing.
No one seems to be standing up and taking that team from the scruff of the neck, especially without Jack Morgan.
Without Jack Morgan there, I mean...
Maybe Alex Mann.
I mean, I still think Thomas Williams stands out as...
Yeah, but he's not imposing himself on these fixtures, is he?
No, but again, I mean, he's got similar issues that we were talking about when he's at Gloucester. He's just behind a pack that's not really going anywhere. It's just, what do you do? Man was okay.
Man was busy. He was busy. He was doing his best to try and fill the boots of Jack Morgan, I felt. But who can?
No, who can? I mean, I don't think anyone. I mean, Blair Murray now looks like a weakness in the outside, and wasn't that long ago we were thinking he was like one of the few shining lights.
Yeah, we were arguing saying he should have been on the Lions tour. It seems all of a sudden his weakness under the high ball is it's a liability.
Yeah. Reece Zammit.
Yes, he's quick, but I do not like the way he's reacting every time something doesn't go his way. Like, he just seems to have a little mini strop if he drops the ball or something doesn't pay off. I was like, not a big fan of that.
I've got to be. At the moment, it looks like a very long road for this Welsh team to get back to any kind of level. I'll put a call out to Drakey, who listens to the pod, and our man in Wales, to tell us what the grassroots looks like and whether we can expect. I know that there are always some good players in the Welsh youth. There always will. They do produce good players, but
because it's that Leggett Jones who's coming through, who's like their next best fly half. Maybe he'll bring with him. For some reason, they don't want to try Morgan Morse out. He's always stood out as a ball carrying youngster. For some reason, they don't want to give him a chance. Don't know why that is. So
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I wish I had better answers, because it's now incumbent upon me to try and find positive things to say about Wales. But at the moment, I don't have anything to offer the in-laws.
Oh, apologies, in-laws. Okay, well, let's quickly move on from Wales then, because we're at risk of angering the in-laws. Don't want to do that. Let's talk the Scotland game versus Argentina.
On Sunday.
Sunday.
Viva los Bombas. I mean, for an hour, Scotland cruised it, didn't they?
Well, Darcy Graham cruised it.
Darcy Graham was phenomenal. I mean, to be honest, I thought for the first hour, Scotland were having a real armchair. It was an armchair performance for them. Argentina, bit of a reshuffle in their team, really sluggish. I think their handling was poor.
So I was watching them for the first 60 minutes, as you say, and I was like, this looks like a team that's had a long calendar, and they're coming to the end of a lot of games.
These players don't get much rest. A lot of them play in France, play a lot of games. They get flogged at club level. They don't have the same type of ties that, say, the South African union does to get their players rest period. Because Argentina and South Africa basically play a 12-month season because of the Rugby Championship being when it is. but most of their team playing in Europe.
Yeah.
What South Africa are able to do is they rest a lot of players at the club side. They communicate with players that are elsewhere in Japan or France or whatever, or England, and get as much rotation and rest in as they can and negotiate that. Argentina don't really have that at the moment. They don't have that kind of leverage to do that. So their players just play a lot of games. And I thought for the first hour, they just looked like a team that needed a rest.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then Santi Carreras came on, and what actually it turned out is they were a team that just needed Santi Carreras because he came on and tore Scotland a new hole.
Yeah, a whole new one. Slap bang in the middle of that back line.
I thought Los Bombas, so Carreras, Moyano, Gajo, Correa, Marchetti, and Matera all coming on about the 45-minute mark.
Bomb squad.
Los Bombas just really just turned the tide of the game. It took about 10 minutes or so, but then, the players of that quality, to have Santi Carreras and Matera on your bench, any team would kill for that. Even the South love that. Because they are genuine world-class players who would be in and around the conversation for a World 15. But I tell you what it does, in glaring contrast to the Scottish bench, just showed what they're able to do. And just all of a sudden, the passes start sticking and they just redded Scotland. From Scotland's perspective, difficult to know where you go from here. Does Townsend just say,
did you see that
I'm going to head off to Newcastle and leave it to someone else?
Did you see that someone tried to start a petition to get Gregor Townsend sacked?
Really? Oh, good. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice of they were trying to say that they were a lifelong Scotland fan and they were behind the Scottish rugby, and yet wanted to start a petition to get the coach sacked. It's an interesting one.
Interesting approach to it. Shining lights for Scotland. Ewan Ashman, brilliant. I thought really good. I think Hutchinson stepped up pretty well in the absence of Hugh Jones.
Yeah, very good.
Looks an international player. Darcy Graham was phenomenal.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed the two different boots as well.
Yeah, love that. Carl Stein I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. That's the thing with Scotland.
Like, empty in the back row.
You think back to the first 60 minutes and you'll be like, oh, it's quite a positive review. Like you're comfortably winning a game.
Up to that point, I was there sort of, nursing a hangover, thinking, oh, this will just be blowing a bit of Caledonian smoke and we'll get through it. And then all of a sudden, Argentina just turned the screw. And look, I genuinely love this Argentina team to watch.
I love watching them. I do love watching them.
They're everything you want from they play great heads up rugby. They're running off the ball, I think maybe second to France, but other than that I can't think of anyone else who runs off the ball better than Argentina. Just constantly creating options for offloads. The speed and ranginess off the pitch, the thighs on Isgro and Carreras, great thighs, and Malia actually, just wonderful,
lovely set of thighs,
wonderful thighs. And then you just got the silkiness of someone like Santi Carreras, who just when he's on, he is just outrageous.
Yeah.
And then you just combine that with just how bloody hard Matera, Petty, Montoya,
Rubiolo,
just nails, nails. Rubiolo, he's only like 22.
Yeah.
He could be okay. I think he could be the next Leguizamon for Argentina.
Okay. Yeah. I can't see why he wouldn't be able to do that. He's
just talismanic.
He's got the size. He's got that physical edge to his game, and he could easily be 100 kappa.
Yeah, there isn't necessarily a weakness to this Argentinian side other than their concentration levels.
Yeah, and we spoke about that in the summer.
Yeah, I think that's all it is when they switch off, it goes to pop very quickly, which England were able to exploit in the summer. Scotland exploited for their first few tries, it happened to them in the Rugby Championship. But when they're on it and they're all going in the same direction and it switches for them, absolutely unplayable, as pretty much everyone has found out at some point over the last year or two.
Yeah. So if they can figure out how to do that for 80 minutes,
they're a consistent 80-minute performance away from being the best team in the world. I think that's the difference at the moment. The difference between South Africa and everyone else at the moment is not the individual players being necessarily better than everyone else is. In some cases, yes, but not every South African player is better than every other player in their position in the world. Yeah. But the South Africans have that ability to be phenomenal for 80 minutes every single time.
Well,
they just have that concentration level.
You say that,
but
we'll talk about the South Africa game shortly.
We will, okay, but let's be honest, that's not South Africa's starting team in a World Cup final, is it?
Yeah, okay.
But the Argentina first 15 at full tilt, given a full 80-minute performance at their ceiling, gives anyone a game.
Yeah, anyone. for sure.
And they could easily beat any team in the world at that level.
Yeah. On their day,
I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
Maybe still a bit suspect at scrum time. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe don't have the props they've had in the past. But short of that, they don't really have a weakness.
No. As you said, their only weakness is that they don't switch on all the time. And when they switched it on, they put Scotland to the sword. And it's interesting to see where Scotland go from here, because it's not been a great autumn for them at all. Or it's not been a great year for them, really.
No. They're not kicking on at all. You know, we spoke about it before. It can't just be about ruining England's Six Nations chances every year. That can't be your only goal. And up to this point, that does seem to be the only thing that really gets them up for it.
Yeah, well, that is the only thing that challenges the dust in the trophy cabinet at the moment as well.
Seems to be.
I imagine there's a lot of dust in there.
And look, we talked about this being a full squad game. Matt Fakeson comes on for Gregor Brown after 8 minutes. Miller Mills comes on for Darcy Ray on 33 minutes. Van der Merwe comes on for Hutchinson on 65. George Turner and Josh Bayliss come on at 71 minutes. By the time Van der Merwe, George Turner and Bayliss come on, game's
gone.
Well, it's not gone, but it is rapidly slipping out of their grasp. Yeah. They've still got... They don't bring the substitute Lucid on. They don't... Apologies if you're an actor. They leave George Horn on the bench. They don't bring on Tom Jordan. You know, what other team this at the top table at international rugby isn't using their full bench?
Oh, especially if a game's slipping away from you. You'd use your bench, wouldn't you?
Well, you've got to change the momentum, and they're not trusting their full bench. That says a lot about this Scotland squad, I think.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting to see where we go from here with Scotland. I know there's quite an unhappy fan base, as I mentioned, that petition go around. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
And do we think the players are coming through? Like, there are some talented players in the Scotland youth.
There's some.
I wouldn't call it a full conveyor belt.
No. Well, is it any surprise that every now and then we see a ex-England under-20 who gets picked up to go play for Wales? Not for Wales, for Scotland. Because the conveyor belt's not there, so they do look elsewhere. And that's why this is fine. But as we said with Japan, that isn't a long-term solution for a route to rugby success.
It's not. And it also... it probably should give you Scottish fans pause the next time they suggest this year is our year when it comes to Six Nations, because ultimately they don't perform at that level. When was the last time they beat Ireland?
I don't know. Well, have they?
Yeah, genuinely, it's I think it's more than a decade.
Yeah.
You know, that's
one
of the
golden generation, Rory. Golden generation.
You know, it's never beaten New Zealand. Haven't really often beaten South Africa or Australia. Now, giving up a 20-point lead against Argentina with 20 minutes to play.
Where is your level? Well, I think they're 9th in the rankings now. Maybe that's just your level, Scotland fans.
That might be the high watermark at this point.
Just, try and keep your head above Wales is all my advice would be, because you don't want to sink much lower.
That might be the only thing they can do.
Yeah. Maybe that's the goal. But I don't want to kick Scotland fans when they're down.
Why not?
Because then it comes our way when they go and inevitably ruin England's Grand Slam in a Calcutta Cup match. But, we're used to that. The Ireland game.
Yeah, weird game.
Yeah.
Torrential rain. Australia getting off to a dreadful start.
Yeah.
Mac Hansen getting a hat-trick in the first half an hour.
Yeah.
And then Ireland scoring another 3 tries in the last 10 minutes. It's sort of the middle...
It felt too easy.
40 minutes. Yeah, 30, 40 minutes. I mean, Ireland with a better team, but not markedly. But just Australia, just...
they looked tired as well.
Yeah. I think for them, they look like a squad that's gone on some real emotional turbulence over the last, what would it be, 5-6 months?
Yeah.
Lions tour, which they obviously lost despite, a bit of promise, but, certainly just disappointing to not, would have been just really disappointed with that. Didn't get the Bledisloe in the Rugby Championship, despite some really promising performances. Yeah. And then they've just come on their spring tour, right, the autumn internationals. And I mean, a pretty poor loss to England, very poor loss to Italy, and now a pretty poor loss to Ireland. 5 different fly halves have started this year.
James O'Connor had a bit of a howler, I'd say.
Well, yeah, he did. But it doesn't help when, you just don't have that kind of continuity in the team. I think, it's Joe Schmidt's last game as head coach, I believe. And I genuinely think he's left them in a much better position than he found them.
Yeah.
Financially, certainly. They are systemically improving. You already know about there's been massive improvements at the grassroots. Their schools team have beaten New Zealand schools twice this year, scored over 120 points against them across those 2 games, conceded like less than 40, I think, something like that. Wasn't close. They battered them twice. What do you call them? Clubs, franchises, regions, much improved performances from some of those teams, particularly the Brumbies, but Tars, the Reds, even the Western Force looked pretty good. And there's been a definite uptick in performance levels over the last couple of years, massive, genuine uptick.
Yeah.
But possibly now we'll need a fresh impetus. Maybe it's, bringing Les Kiss in now feels like the right time to change that. I think what they desperately need to do is similar to Argentina, is follow that South African model of establishing those relationships with where their players are. So, the fact that they haven't been able to use Will Skelton in every game, for example, is a massive problem. The fact that they're not going to have a lot of their players this weekend is a problem. They need to find a way to get around that. Maybe World Rugby needs to probably step in here about games outside international windows and player availability, etc.
Considering each of these games counts towards world rankings, it does feel a little bit harsh to some nations than others, you could say.
It's just imbalanced, isn't it? Which is something, that they need to get their heads around. But, obviously the bigger question is making money. So that's what the focus is on this. But it's interesting because there's a lot of really good... I mean, some of these players I've really enjoyed watching. Jorgensen, the boy from Sheffield, genuinely announced himself on the world stage this year, I think, for me. Really good. Lenny Kitao and Suoliti look a really good centre partnership.
Yeah, definitely one to build around, isn't it?
Yeah. Angus Bell, Loosehead, I think's right up there with everyone else. I think Williams and Frost and Hooper are all really good locks. Valentini's still brilliant. McWright looks one of the best Lucy's in the world at 7. I think Harry Wilson's led the team brilliantly. I think he's really, really good.
Are we just saying it's that out-and-out star at 10 is what they're missing?
Look, they've got Carter Gordon back from the NRL now, and they need to build the team around that. I think you just have to go, look, Carter Gordon's our guy. They need to get Will Skelton into that team. You just have to.
They're a different team when he's there. They are a different team, a different prospect.
Every team would be. No team wouldn't be improved by having Will Skelton's tired lock. They need to solve the Tupou issue at tight head. Can you get him to start consistently? Can you get him fit?
Yeah,
because that seems to be a problem. I think there's a question at 9 for them. But yeah, there are questions there. And there's problems that Les Kiss is going to have to solve. Some of them are systemic, some of them are playing pool. But this game in particular was just it just feels like a bit of a bridge too far at the moment for them. I think whatever positives have come out of this year, I think they're just coming to the end of the road emotionally with the Wallabies jersey. Feels like everything they've had to get up for with the Lions tour and the Rugby Championship. This just feels like the end of it for them.
They need their Australian summer to come and refresh, recharge, start again in the new year.
Jump on the surfboard, go put a shrimp on the barbie,
We said we weren't doing accents this week, Rory.
No, this is one of my better ones. They just I think a few players need to reset. And I think they just need to make sure that Les Kiss is in post and ready to go with a clear plan next year. Because they're on the up. Just right now, they're not quite there. And they came up against an Ireland side that's now warmed into their theme after disappointment in Chicago and just executed a game plan really well.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. Yes, I think they were boosted by the early parts of the game really working for them. Somehow managing to get the same move to work twice to score tries under the sticks. That usually doesn't happen at international level, but it allowed them to pull away, build confidence, and then a confident Ireland is always very, very hard to stop. And that's what we saw. Should we touch briefly on Italy-South Africa?
Yes, I haven't seen too much of this game, but I've seen bits and pieces. I guess there's one real talking point, which is another red card for South Africa and another win with 14 men.
Yeah, so again, literally the exact same scenario happened with Franco Mostert, as did with Lou Diaga the week before. It's almost comical that it happens 2 weeks in a row, almost the exact same scenario. And again, I guess this is part of your slight reservation, admitting that you have a little bit of agreement with South African fans that they feel like they're getting persecuted, because it does feel odd that they seem to be on the end of these decisions week in, week out.
Well, I don't think either of them were full red cards, the Lou Diaga one or the Franco Mostert one. I don't particularly like the 20-minute red card, but that feels like maybe that's where these both landed, if at all. Yeah.
What's the point?
This one, to be honest, even this one, I'm not even certain it should have been at that threshold. I don't know what your thoughts were, but from what I saw of it, I thought, was it a red card, really? It didn't look like he was doing anything violent.
It didn't feel like a red card to me. I maybe yellow. 20-minute red, an absolute max. But I think where we are absolutely hamstrung by this current structure that refs have to go through when making a decision. And because they made the decision on the pitch that it was a high level of danger in the tackle, and because there was an illegal tackle in the fact that it was a tackle without arms, they can't make any other decision other than a full red the way the laws are set out, because you start at that sanction because it was they perceived it as a high level of danger, which is starting point red card. Because it was an illegal tackle by their books, you can't apply any mitigation. So the only decision you have once you've decided it was a high degree of danger and it was an illegal tackle, you have to give a full red card. My question mark is, what is how are they deciding that's a high level of danger? Because to me, it didn't look high level of danger to me either.
No.
But basically, it's any form of kind of forward momentum in a tackle, it seems, where you are upright and you're making contact with the head, they're perceiving as high level of danger, which in such a dynamic game that we love to watch and play, seems like we're setting ourselves up to fail a little bit there.
It just feels like the directive from World Rugby at the moment is overly pernickety. And look, I mean, you could maybe make or ask some questions around some of the tackling technique exuded by.
Or maybe South Africans just need to get better at tackling. Maybe that's the solution. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, but also, I don't know. In some ways, it feels like it's just a bit of a running joke that it's always South Africa and their fans are always perceiving such persecution in every
just what they need, more fuel to the fire.
Annoyingly, it's annoying when it feels like they've got a point.
Well, it's annoying when the narrative actually fits what's going on. Especially, it's just annoying because they're really good and they're just going and still winning games, even though they got 14 players on the pitch convincingly. That's the annoying thing, because normally when you get red cards all the time, you start losing games. But no, South Africa. Now there's jokes saying that Rassie Erasmus is now just going to name a 14-player team for the game up against Ireland because
which would be good lols.
It would be funny if he did that, but it's not the best image, and it just plays into this kind of frustration with everything going on with the bunker system, TMO interventions, referees kind of being centre of attention, the laws being a bit prescriptive. It's not the best look, and I think maybe it's more off-putting to those of us who've been watching rugby for some time, because like we're in this world now where it almost feels like too much is going on in that space. Maybe to a neutral, maybe it's exciting, maybe it's drama, maybe it's theatre, but
it is. How can watching a referee look at a big screen for 5 minutes be exciting or
people
dramatic?
like Gogglebox, Rory.
You think this is rugby Gogglebox?
This is rugby Gogglebox, and
really, because I don't think our referees have got enough personality to make that entertaining.
So what I'm saying here, Rory, is we need to get some better personalities in the refereeing shirts.
I just think we need to get some better referees.
Or get some better referees. That's probably the better solution.
Yeah.
But it's a shame, because for a little while, Italy were putting pressure on South Africa in that game. Obviously, South Africa pulled away, as they do later on in the game. But Italy really stuck it to them, and they gave them a bit of a fright. If you just watch or just look at the ticker tape of the subs that Erasmus made in that first half after the red card, you can tell that he was worried because Italy were putting problems on them, and he was just tinkering with that squad to no end. I think he did about 4 or 5 substitutions in the first half, which is unheard of.
Yeah, but also you can see that in some ways this game was an opportunity for him to assess some of his wider squad.
Yeah.
And maybe he answered some questions on that, particularly in the pack. But I would, I'm glad that Italy were able to put some pressure on and make an impact on this game. I would say against the South African best second choice 15 against 14 men, that Italian side should be winning.
Yeah.
Ultimately. If that Italian side is going where we think it is, they should be winning.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. And let's touch on France-Fiji. Again, just another game that fails to... I've not seen much of this game, but it didn't feel like France...
Something's going on in France.
Yeah.
I think something's going on in France. A shout out to Charles Olivon becoming the highest scoring forward in France.
Yeah.
I think Fiji really showed up in this one and put France under real pressure and really proved that they are, backing up the performance against England to say that maybe they're not necessarily quite there, but they are pushing towards that level.
Yeah.
And they will give plenty of teams a fright. I think everyone now has to be aware that you cannot turn up to Fiji with anything less than 100% because they will put you under pressure. France, though, it was a strong France side.
Yeah.
They can't say they put out a mixed
strength.
Pretty much full strength, realistically, if you look through it. Dupont's still injured, but they started Luku. Ramos, Peno, Deporter, who scored 2, so good for him. Barassi, Bielbarre, Intermat, Luku. It's a backline you'd want, generally.
Yeah.
I think to be run that close by Fiji,
something's not quite clicking, it seems. I don't know what it is. I'm not close enough to French rugby to be able to put my finger on it, but it doesn't.
All
feel
I would
quite
ask
right.
is, Gautier's been there a long time. Are they getting close to needing a new voice?
Well, I often say that you may have the best coach in the world, but you do get to a point where new ideas are needed and new voices are needed, and maybe France are at that point. Who knows? Answers on a postcard, because it just doesn't quite feel like the France we're used to seeing.
Something feels off to me.
If anything, it's kind of like the France we were used to seeing with how hot and cold they're being.
Well, this is the thing, if France are starting to regress back to where they were, let's say pre-2019, that would be a real shame for what is potentially the premier rugby nation if they wanted it to be.
Well, it'd be criminal considering the state of the domestic game. Like they have got the premier domestic competition. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So it'll be criminal for their national team to take a step back and not be taking advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that rounds up the week 3 of the Autumn Internationals. A nice little canter through all those games there. We'll do our predictions now, Rory, for week 4 of the Autumn Internationals. And it kicks off with Wales up against New Zealand. I can't see anything other than a certain result here. What result could you see coming?
New Zealand by 25 points at least.
Yeah. New Zealand at a canter, for sure.
To be honest, if Wales keep this within 20, that's akin to a victory.
That's a win. That's a win if Wales do that. Ireland versus South Africa.
I am very excited for this one. I think South Africa are going to win.
Yeah, I think you're a fool to bet against South Africa at this stage in World Rugby. They're just a step above everyone. Like they are.
I think South Africa win by 5 points.
Yeah. I agree. France versus Australia.
I'd love for the Wallabies to come away from this tour with a win just to take home with them, but I don't think it's going to come this week against France, despite the problems over Le Pond. I think France will win this reasonably comfortable, 10 to 15 points.
Yeah, I think this is two sides probably not at their best, and I think France probably do come away with this one.
I think man for man, they're stronger across the pitch.
Yeah, and they will want to finish this campaign on a high for their fans, and they'll probably see this as the one to kind of say, look, don't write us off. So yeah, I agree. France, Italy, Chile, rounding off Saturday.
Could be a very fun match. I mean, Italy, I think, will win probably by 15, 20 points, but it could be quite a fun match to watch Chile play some lovely rugby.
Yeah, it'll be a good way to see where Chile are at the moment, because we've not really seen them. This window, and another game we get to see a team we've not seen much of: Scotland versus Tonga.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to back Tonga on this one, because it'd be very funny if they went and beat Scotland as well. But I think Scotland will do a job on them and probably win by 20, 30 points. Yeah,
Gregor Townsend's been very smart there to put a banker in at the end to make sure that his job's safe for another 6 months.
Yeah.
And then the chance for Argentina to seek revenge for the summer tour up against England at Twickenham. I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for this one. I think England are going to do the clean sweep. And I think they're going to win this one by 10 points. Yeah, as much as I've praised Argentina, but I think England are going to do this one. I think England may become like Argentina's bogey team. I've just got this feel. I just feel like England just have this game that they don't quite have an answer to, and I think England's defence almost shuts down the way Argentina play most of the time. And we saw it a lot in the summer. Argentina just didn't seem to have the answer to this defence. So I agree. As much as I've tried in all these weeks to try and have at least one that I disagree with you on, Rory, I can't go against England. I think England win this one as well. So that's week 4. We'll reconvene next week and see how we do. I think we're doing pretty well on the predictions. I don't think we've been too far. Right. We did think Australia would win this week, which wasn't very good from us. No, but hey, we can't always be right. We're an honest pod. Sorry for being optimists. We're such honest podcasters. But yeah, that's it for this week, Rory. A great week for England. It's been a lovely week for England. Hopefully it continues. If you would have asked me at the start of the Autumn Internationals that would England go 4 from 4, I would have said I'll be happy with 3 from 4. Now all I want is 4 from 4. 4 from 4. Give us the Grand Slam. Give it to us. Any final thoughts before I play the jingle, Rory? I would like to apologise to my in-laws for any comments I've made about Wales this week. And to Scotland, I want to apologise for absolutely nothing. We've been Ruxballs and Oval Balls. Hope you've enjoyed listening. We'll be back again next week. If you've enjoyed listening, remember to like, subscribe, follow, and all those other fun things. And we'll be back again. Ta-ra. Ta-ra.